Salutations, friends. My name is Rock Dr. Lucas Schweitzer, and welcome to another installment of Hard Rock Classics. Last week on the show, Dee Snider was visiting, but this week we've twisted things up a bit, and we're very blessed to have with us Dr. Jim Spiegel. Dr. Spiegel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Jim Spiegel is a professor of philosophy and religion at Taylor University, and we are here to talk about the philosophy of rock and roll. So, to start things off, how do you apply philosophy to something like rock and roll as an art genre?
Well, in philosophy, you ask all sorts of different questions about all sorts of things. And when it comes to rock and roll, one question you can ask about rock music is, what kind of thing is it? Mm-hmm. And that's a question in what's called ontology. And so philosophers of rock and roll ask or wonder, is rock music, does it consist basically in the formal musical notation, the set of notes, say, that you could put down on paper and buy at a music store, or is it essentially a live performance art where the real music, the real art form is happening at a given moment on a stage? So that's a question of the ontology of rock. There are also questions related to the ethics of rock. When is rock and roll a positive moral influence? When is it a negative moral influence? And then politically, what sort of political impact does rock and roll have? When are rock and roll themes born out of political or social movements? And when, in turn, do they influence politics and maybe even change the direction of a society?
Would it be fair to say that rock and roll has the power to change someone's life?
Yeah, I think at the social level as well as the individual level, I think it'd be hard to find any adult in our culture who wouldn't be willing to admit that some song or other has influenced them and had a personal impact on them, either because they felt like somebody could identify with their feelings in a certain situation, or some struggle they've been through, or the feeling of unrequited love, mm-hmm. which is a universal, all the way to political convictions, mm-hmm. Or various relational issues that are really heavy, and a person could be motivated to protest racism, or to be a vegetarian, or to vote for a certain candidate, all because of certain rock songs.
Sure. And on the topic of rock songs or groups being influential for people, if you had to pick one rock and roll group that's been most influential in your own life, who would it be?
It would probably be Led Zeppelin. Because here's a band that was the perfect confluence of great musicianship, great songwriting, mm-hmm. And they had a blues sensibility. And they had this knack of being able to combine all of their musical genius with some really strong lyrics, mm-hmm. and present that on a big stage in a way that was more compelling, I guess more big and theatrical than any band that ever preceded them.
Sure. And a favorite song?
Maybe, it's a cliche, but Stairway to Heaven, I think it's like a mini, it's like a theatrical
sure.
entity all its own.
Sure. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, Dr. Spiegel. I've appreciated your input. Next week on the show, we'll be taking a more in-depth look at how hard rock and actual hard rocks are similar, and yet somehow so different. Thanks for watching, and remember, nothing is more classy than the classics.